Hello everyone, I'm Neha, BME tutor at Academic Resource Center, and today I'll be presenting on mechanical properties of biomaterials. So biomaterials find application in various kinds of medical devices to be used in skeletal systems, replacing and repairing of organs, and also restoring organ functionality, and even many more. So knowing the properties of these biomaterials is essential for the use in medical devices. Today I will talk about the mechanical properties of biomaterials. Mechanical properties of biomaterials can be characterized into many ways depending on the subunits of which they are made. The various ways of characterizing them are characterizing mechanical properties are according to tensile and shear properties, bending properties, and time-dependent properties. First, tensile and shear properties. These properties of materials depend on the forces that are applied to these materials. It can be tensile forces, in which the biomaterials are subjected to forces that causes elongation of the material, change in dimension across the length, and decrease in the width of the material. Another forces are compressive forces. Such forces can be acted on the material in like orthopedic implants. In this, what happens is the material is compressed, causing a decrease in the width. Then the third type of forces are shear forces or torsion forces. In these, the dimensions of the material don't change. However, there is a displacement. They can be an angular displacement or linear displacement. In shear forces, the forces act parallel to the base of the substance, base of the two faces, while in torsion forces there is an angular displacement. By the angle, you can describe angle as theta. So by the there's a displacement by an angle. Now what is done is you subject a material to different type of forces and calculate and obtain some parameters. Here first I'll talk about tensile testing. In tensile testing, the forces that can be applied to a biomaterial can be tensile, compressive, or shear. The parameters measured are engineering stress and engineering strain. First of all, engineering stress. Engineering stress is calculated as force applied perpendicular to the cross-section of the sample, cross-sectional area of the sample. And the strain is change in the length of a sample before loading, change in the length of the sample as compared to the initial. So here the formula, in the formula, Li represents the length during the testing, while L0 represents the initial. So it is actually the change of length as compared to the initial. Second, compression testing. It's similar to the parameters obtained are similar to those of tensile testing. In this also we obtain engineering stress and engineering strain. However, in these we obtain negative stress and negative strain, because you can see that because there is a compression, there is decrease in length. So when we apply the formula initial length minus the new length minus initial length, we will get a negative value. Then there are shear testing. In shear testing, the formula for these the parameters are called shear stress and shear strain instead of engineering stress and engineering strain. Shear stress and engineering stress have the same equation, that is force per unit area, per unit cross-sectional area. However, the equation for shear strain is different. In this, the strain is calculated in form of angle theta. Now, the use of calculating these parameters is you can subject the material, the biomaterials, to different forces and then see what kind of material it is. And from the parameters, you can plot the graphs. Like the graph you see here is a graph for stress versus strain. So what actually is done is you take a material, subject it to different kind of stress, different kind of forces, obtain the parameters stress and strain, and plot a graph. Here in this graph you can see four different kind of graphs that you can get. First of all, let's talk about material 1. The material 1, this type of graph is seen for ceramics. Ceramics are actually brittle material. In these, the stress is proportional to strain. Stress increases to a large value with small increases in strain. This, this, this proportional relation is governed by Hooke's law. That is, as you see the first equation, engineering stress is proportional to engineering strain, and the constant uppercase E is called Young's modulus. Same formula can be applied for shear stress and shear strain, and G is called as shear modulus. These Young modulus and shear modulus are the measure of material stiffness. So the stress and strain are directly proportional for ceramics, and after a particular value of strain, the material fractures. That is, material breaks, and that is why ceramics are brittle in nature. That is, after a small amount of strain, the material breaks. Material 2 here is metal. In the beginning, you can see there is a proportional relation between stress and strain that was governed by Hooke's law. So for metals also, for some value of strain, stress is directly proportional to it, and there's an elastic deformation. What is meant by elastic deformation? In elastic deformation, the material is deformed due to application of stress. However, if you remove the stress, the material can get back to its original dimension. So the first part is direct relation, and metal will show an elastic deformation. However, you see a curved relation after applying more strain. That is, in metals at very high strain, the stress increases slowly with increased strain, followed by a fracture. This relation of increase in stress to a little amount with strain is called as plastic deformation. The deformation made during this region is permanent, and even with the removal of strain, the material will not return to its original form. Material 3 here, material 3 and 4 are polymers, two different types of polymer. Material 3 is a plastic deformation polymer. In this, stress is proportional to strain with a small strain, that shows elastic deformation, and then at high strain, the stress becomes almost independent of strain, and the material shows plastic deformation. Material 4 is an elastic polymer, and this polymer does not show elastic deformation, it shows plastic deformation, and this material is resistant to fracture at very high strains also. Now let us talk more about plastic deformation. So plastic deformation, once again, it happens after the elastic deformation. That is, the first part of graph you see here, stress is proportional to strain, and that is elastic deformation. Then this proportionality relation does not hold anymore. That is the plastic deformation. And plastic deformation region, Hooke's law is no more valid. And the point where plastic deformation begins is called yield strength and yield strain point. The strain at that point is yield strain, the stress at that point is yield stress. Any further increase in strain will lead to a maximum point of stress, which is called ultimate tensile strength, the point M on the graph. Any further increase in strain will decrease the stress and will lead to ultimate fracture. I also want to mention one more point here. I always said engineering stress. Engineering stress is when we engineering stress is something when we divide our force applied with the original cross-sectional area. However, when we are applying a force to the material, the dimensions are constantly changing. So if our force is divided by the instantaneous area, that is called as true stress. So there is a true stress and true strain in comparison to engineering stress and engineering strain, and the graph here shows you that how the true stress and engineering stress differ. When we are working in the experiment, when we are in the theoretical knowledge, we use engineering stress and strain. However, if we are using experiments, the value we get is of true strain and true stress. Now back to plastic deformation. What are the stages of plastic deformation? How the relation for the plastic deformation is with increase in the strain, the stress first increases to a little value, then decreases, and the material breaks. So what are the stages of plastic deformation? The very first figure you see here shows you the material of the how the material looks, the molecular look of the material at the end of elastic deformation. That is at the point when plastic deformation is about to begin. So the material actually looks like alternating laminar and amorphous region. The straight lines you see here are the laminar regions, while the fibrous thing you see between the laminar region are the amorphous region. And they together, they interact, these two regions interact in response to the tensile forces. So the figure B here represents the stage 1 of plastic deformation. In these, the chains, the amorphous region extend and the lamella slide past each other. In figure 3 you see the lamella reorient again so that the chain folds align along the axis of the load. Stage D here shows that the crystalline blocks of lamella, they separate from each other, however they are still attached to each other by tie molecule. And finally in stage 4, the blocks and the tie molecules become reoriented along the axis of applied tensile forces. So these were, till now we were talking about the shear properties, the tensile and shear properties. Now another mechanical property are the bending property. I'm sorry about this slide here. Bending properties are actually required to calculate the stress we will need to fracture a material. That is, they give you the modulus of rupture. The equation you see here, it's not very visible, but the equation right here, this gives you the stress that you need for the fracture, 3FFL over 2BD square, where FF is the force applied, L is the length of the material, B is the cross-section area, and D is the width of the material. Now, third properties are the time-dependent properties. What happens in time-dependent properties? Some materials experience changes at molecular level that results in alterations in the mechanical property when it is loaded over a long period of time. One such property is creep. Creep is the plastic deformation of a sample under constant load of time. Creep can be seen in all kinds of materials like metals, ceramics, polymers, but they are most significant in polymers because polymers can show creep at room temperature, and this may also lead to failure of some biomedical applications, like if you have a polymer ligament and due to creep it fails at a body temperature after some time of the implant. So, what the causes of creep? There are different materials have different causes of creep. In molecules, the creep is caused because of grain boundary movement and vacancy diffusion. Generally, in metals and ceramics, creep is observed at higher temperatures. In ceramics, there is little or no diffusion of vacancy, so they don't show creep to a very large level. However, if you increase the temperature to high values, there will be a diffusion and the material will show creep. Polymers have, like as I showed in the plastic deformation slide, they have amorphous regions, and these regions behave as a viscous substance and are more prone to show creep. Creep is also a function of crystallinity. As percent crystallinity increases, the creep decreases. Now, creep curve. The curve here is between the strain and time over a constant stress. So when this graph is created, the stress is kept constant on a material, and we see how is the strain changing with time. So there are three distinct stages of creep: primary creep, secondary creep, and tertiary creep. In primary creep, the strain increases with time. However, the slope is decreasing, that is, the creep rate is decreasing. In the secondary stage, there is a linear relation between the creep and time. So the creep is increasing, the strain is increasing steadily with time. And at tertiary stage, there is a rapid increase in strain, and it leads to ultimate fracture of the material. So in this presentation, I talked about the mechanical properties of biomaterials. The next stage to study this topic would be studying about the fracture, which is another topic. So if you have any questions on this topic or if you have any questions regarding the fracture, you can contact me anytime. Thank you.